The sun shines in the ancient city of Benin in golden warmth, casting long shadows over the narrow streets. Life bustled as usual, but for Osifo Igbinovia, today was extra special. He had just received a promotion at the transport company he worked for, and he couldn't wait to tell his wife Esosa. Esosa, his heart, his anchor, the girl he met in secondary school when he had nothing but a worn uniform and oversized dreams. They had grown together, her soft strength and beauty, balanced by his fierce loyalty and determination. From sharing gala and lacasera under the mango tree to studying by candlelight during blackout nights. They had weathered storms together. Everyone knew them. They were that couple, the ones who smiled through struggles, the ones who danced even when there was no music. After secondary school, Esosa had told him about a one-year study program in Port Harcourt. It had hurt. Being apart felt like trying to breathe through a tight wrapper. But she assured Osifo it was only temporary. She would come back and they would build their lives together. And she did come back, but with a child, Isoke. She had said softly, holding the little girl's arms. My late sister's daughter, I couldn't leave her behind. Osifo, ever the protector, never asked too many questions. He admired her strength, her compassion. They raised Isoke together, with Osifo pouring love into the little child, like she was his own. 3 years into their marriage, life felt perfect, or so he believed. But life has its own shadows. It started with whispers. Osifo's cousin, Osaro, had returned from Lagos with a story too wild to ignore. I am sorry, Osifo. Osaro began hesitantly one evening as they sat inside Osifo's living room. I saw your wife years ago at your father's house. Many times, actually. Osifo laughed it off. She used to visit often before we got serious. My mom really liked her. But Osaro looked uneasy. It wasn't like that. They were close. Too close. Then one day she disappeared. And when she came back, she had a baby. Osifo's chest tightened. What exactly are you saying? I'm not sure, brother. I thought you should know. The timelines don't add up, you know. That night, Osifo did not sleep. He lay beside Esosa, watching her breath, while Isoken's soft snoring from the other room sliced into his sanity. He needed answers. The seed of doubt grew like a poisonous tree. A week later, Osifo visited his aunt, Mama Rhoda, under the pretense of helping with repairs. But his real motive was to dig. He asked casually, did you ever notice anything strange between Papa and Esosa? Mama Rhoda paused, her hand still on her rosary. I've kept quiet for years, oh, she says. Please subscribe to this channel, turn on your notification bell, like, and comment. Thank you. Softly. Your father, he changed. When Esosa was around, he became secretive. Then she vanished. When she returned, she barely looked at me. I knew something wasn't right. But who was I to interfere? Osifo felt his world tilt. He needed proof. 2 weeks later, he paid for a private DNA test. Isoke had just turned 4. Esosa had insisted he signed her adoption papers for school records. He used the document and a strand of her hair from her brush. 3 days later, the results came out and it read, biological father, Pa Igbinovia. Relation to Osifo, father. Probability of relationship, 99.99%. The ground beneath him shattered. His wife had given birth to his father's child. She brought that child into their home, their marriage, their bed. This betrayal didn't feel human. It felt like witchcraft. Osifo did not scream. He did not confront her. Not yet. He drove miles away to a remote village near Ekpoma where the winds whispered old truths and the forests were thick with silence. There he found Mama Ogbeide an ancient woman known for strong medicine and deeper curses. People said even wicked spirits bow before her shrine. He told her everything. She listened quietly, tossing cowries, whispering in Edo tongue. Then she looked up and smiled, a crooked, knowing smile. "You don't want her taken out?" she asked. "You want her truth to consume her?" Osifo nodded. "So it shall be," she murmured, rubbing black chalk into his palms. "She will reek not of sweat or filth, but of guilt and betrayal, a smell so foul, even her reflection will turn away." Drums echoed as the wind stirred the sacred trees, and Osifo made his oath. But revenge, like fire, never stays contained. The saint arrived shortly, like a whisper in the wind. At first unnoticeable, almost imagined. It began the morning after Osifo returned from the shrine in Ekpoma. Esosa was in the kitchen making breakfast, singing her usual morning tune. The agege bread toast, the egg sizzled in palm oil, but then her nose crickled. "Is something burning?" she murmured. She sniffed her wrapper, nothing. Yet something in the air smelled off, acrid, sour, like wet clothes forgotten inside a locked wooden box. Osifo, sitting at the table, said nothing. He stirred his tea slowly, his eyes locked on her every move. He saw the subtle shift, the way she paused, looked around the kitchen, unsure. The confusion on her face pleased him more than the tea ever could. He said softly, "Everything all right, Esosa." She glanced at him and forced a weird smile. Maybe something expired in the fridge. She opened the fridge. Nothing. By that evening, the smell had deepened. No longer subtle, no longer something she could ignore. It clung to her skin, her clothes, her breath. Even Isoke, innocent and blunt, covered her nose when her mother walked past. "Mommy, you smell like dustbin," she said, laughing. Esosa was horrified. She bathed 3 times that night, scrubbed herself raw with black soap, poured nearly a full bottle of sweet rose body wash, and even lemon. But when she stepped out of the bathroom and wiped the steamed mirror, the smell still lingered. It had grown stronger. She called out, "Osifo, please come." He entered, towel over his shoulder, calm, quiet, controlled. "Do you smell anything?" she asked, voice trembling. Something wrong with me?" Osifo leaned in, pretending to sniff her neck. He took a deep breath, held it, then smiled faintly. "No, you smell fine." She blinked. "You're sure?" He nodded. "Maybe you are just tired. Stress can do funny things, you know." She nodded slowly, but her eyes told another story. That night she changed the bed sheets twice, burnt incense, sprayed every corner of the room with air freshener. By dawn, the smell had crept into the pillow, the mattress, the walls. Even her shadow was stinking. By the end of the week, her co-workers at the Benin Microfinance Bank began keeping their distance. Her manager called her into his office. "Esosa," he said, "please don't be offended, but we've had a few observations. Clients are complaining of a persistent odor." She wanted the ground to open and swallow her. "I've tried everything," she whispered. "I don't know what's wrong." The manager sighed. "Take a few days off. See a doctor and rest. At home, even is okay." Her daughter stopped cuddling her. "Mommy, you smell like the dustbin at Oba Market," the child said casually. Esosa felt something break in her soul. She booked a full medical checkup, skin swabs, blood work, hormone panels. The doctor was confused. "Medically, you're fine," he said. "No infection, no body odor disorder. Are you under any spiritual pressure?" She burst into tears right there in the doctor's office. It wasn't just the smell anymore. It was shame, isolation, madness. Even her reflection recoiled. Then came nightmares after nightmares. One night, She turned to Osifo, desperate. Something is happening to me, Osifo. Something spiritual. I think someone has cursed me. He stared at her for a long moment. Why would anyone do that to you? The answer hovered on her lips like a ghost. Because I deserve it. But she couldn't say it. Instead, she whispered, I don't know, but something is wrong, very wrong. Osifo leaned in slowly, his voice calm and cold like fresh palm wine on stone. You know, Esosa, truth always finds its way out. Sometimes it stings, sometimes it burns, but it never stays buried. Esosa froze. What are you talking about? His expression was unreadable. Just speaking the truth. Then he walked away, leaving her in a house thick with secrets. The odor became her shadow. Wherever Esosa went, it followed. She stopped going to St. Philip's Church, stopped visiting her favorite salon. Even the Sunday market was unbearable. People whispered, eyes followed her, and sellers avoided her like she owed them money. She's bewitched, they muttered. There's something unclean about that woman. She's hiding something. And the most dangerous whisper of all, it smells like guilt. At night, the house creaked, floorboards groaned, candles flickered. The air felt thick, like something ancient was watching. And the mirror, the large oval one gifted by her sister, had changed. At first, it was subtle, a flicker, a movement. Then one night, Esosa saw it clearly, her own reflection smiling back at her when she was crying. She screamed, Osifo! Osifo came running, calm as ever. What happened? There's something in the mirror. It looked at me, it smiled. He held her gently. You need to rest. No, I saw it. It said, you know. Osifo blinked. Then he leaned in and whispered, I know everything. The trip, the baby, the lies, him. Esosa stumbled back. How could you? I did a DNA test, he said. You brought his child into my home, into my heart, and you thought I'll never find out? Tears felt like acid. Osifo, don't, he said coldly. Don't you dare. Then he turned and walked away. Esosa took a trip to Pa Igbinovia's place. She pushed the door open and saw him standing in his living room. You used me, Esosa whispered, bitterness rising like bitter leaf on the tongue. I was only 18 and lost. You were his father. You were supposed to protect me, not seduce me. Pa Igbinovia looked like a shadow of himself. You came to me, he snapped, then recalled. No, I did not mean it like that. She stood. You knew what you were doing. You watched your son love me, and still you touched me. You promised you'll take care of it. You said I should stay silent, she roared. I sent you away to Port Harcourt so he wouldn't find out, Pa Igbinovia muttered. I thought you'll give the child up for adoption. Esosa laughed bitterly. Do you think I could give up my baby after what I went through? Pa Igbinovia shook his head slowly. Yet you brought her into his house, raised her under his roof, lied to him. He said. I had no choice, she replied. You had every choice, he said softly. You just chose the one that protected you. The silence between them was loud. Then she said, Osifo went to a native woman, a strong one. He cursed me. Pa Igbinovia's face turned pale. Osifo? She nodded. I don't know what he asked her to do, but I'm dying spiritually, emotionally. I feel like my soul is rotting. He stood trembling. Then we must go back to her. You must beg her. Esosa froze. You know about the native witch doctor? I do, he whispered. I went to see Mama Ogbeide years ago, but I never returned. She sees through lies. That's why I feared her. Esosa stared at him. You should tell your son the truth, she said finally. He already knows. What more do I owe him? She stepped closer. The truth that it wasn't only me who sinned. That night, when she returned home, she found a letter on her pillow. No name, no signature, just one sentence, and it read, "When the roots are rotten, even the fruit turns bitter." And beside it, her wedding ring, polished, cold. The house was silent. Even the smell seemed to pause, as if holding its breath. Thunder cracked over Benin City. Rain began to drizzle. Heavy at first, it fell, like the heavens themselves were purging something filthy from the sky, and then it slowed down. Usifo stood outside in the compound, under the drizzling rain, cigarette in hand. He didn't smoke often, only when the past got too loud. Please subscribe to this channel, turn on your notification bell, like, and comment. Thank you. He stared into the rain, his reflection dancing in puddles. His wife had betrayed him. His father had destroyed him. And inside the house slept a child, the one he had fed, the one he had rocked, the one he had loved, the one he had called my baby, the one who wasn't his. He inhaled sharply. He hadn't told Esosa the truth, the full truth, not about what Mama Ogbede had said during the ritual. She must feel it in her spirit, the old woman had whispered, her voice not entirely human. Not just think, not just pain. She must cry to the earth and beg it to bury her. Then the curse will break. And Usifo nodded. But now, watching Esosa break more each day, watching her spirit unravel, something in him began to shift. This isn't vengeance anymore. It is grief. In her room, Esosa sat, coiled in one corner. The smell? It had become part of her now. She could taste it in her breath. Her skin itched, peeled. She had gone to 3 churches, all turned her away. One morning, Esosa begged Usifo, "Take me to her. Take me to Mama Ogbede, please. I'll do anything. My name, my soul. Just help me fix this." He looked at her for a long time. Then he nodded. 3 hours later, they were in a church. She confessed it all. Usifo also confessed cursing her. They stayed in the church for 3 days for prayers and fasting. Eventually, they were both free. They had forgiven each other. The smell had gone. They chose to bring up the little girl Isoke as their child. Months later, for the first time since their marriage, Esosa was pregnant. She paid a very costly and needless price for infidelity, betrayal, and lies.